Here's an update on the 66 Chevy II mini tubs. Both mini tubs are in, they're not finished. It's been a long process, so give you an idea what they look like. Driver's side is in. These have been modified from what Detroit Speed tells you to do. Frame rails have been narrowed a little more. I'll show you underneath what's been done. That's the original part of the trunk hinge mount. It's just been modified and re-welded back on. Same goes with the passenger side wheelhouse. That's the original lower portion to the trunk hinge support. It's just been modified and reused. The Detroit Speed comes with templates you use to cut out the floor. You trace it onto the floor and cut out the floor. I made mine a little wider. They make templates so you can make new lowers for these trunk hinge supports, but I just modified the original Chevy II ones. They work just as well. Here's the driver's side Detroit Speed inner wheelhouse. They've been seam sealed, put in primer. The back of the frame rail and the front section of the frame rail both get extended further the way this car was done. There's a section in here about this long. This is sheet metal here where my finger is. There's a section of frame that's been added so the frame rail could be narrowed, make it thinner, so the taller tire that I want to run will clear in this car. So you actually make the frame rail narrower farther down than Detroit Speed tells you to. It winds up being a pretty narrow frame rail in the middle. Towards the back, you add a couple inches to what they give you. They come with a piece of steel that fits right here. I probably added 4 to 6 in the front and 2 or 3 in the back. Made the frame rail narrower so my taller tire will not rub anymore. And then you hate to do it, but I take the original wheelhouse and cut it, move it forward 2 or 3 inches. Then you cut the Detroit Speed mini tub, angle it forward, put a pie shape in it on this side. There's a lot of work that's done. This is a new piece of sheet metal from here all the way around to here. A lot of fitting. It's not as professional as if you paid somebody $1 million, but this is a low budget deal. It'll look all right once it's all painted and undercoated under here. It'll be fine. This is a street car, not a show car. Passenger side wheelhouse. As you can see, the front's been modified just like the driver's side. The front of the Detroit Speed wheelhouse was cut off, angled forward. Like I said, the front of the floor probably had 2 or 3 inches moved out of it. You cut into the rocker some. I didn't realize that when this kit was bought, a wide tire will fit, but not a tall tire. There's my tall tire. They're 29.5 inches tall. They won't fit. They won't fit a stock quarter panel wheel well opening either. The only way you could do that is probably move the rear back an inch or a ½ inch, but I wanted this one to stay in its stock location. So there's a lot of tricks to be done. You buy the kit, do it your way. This one was done the way this car needed to be done. So again, added to the back side of this and added to the front side where the frame rail was notched more than Detroit Speed tells you to. It all works. This car is going to get frame connectors put in it that allow you to move the springs on board. And those spring pockets will have stock ride height and 1 inch taller. So it's been trial fitted in here. Frame rail had to be notched a little bit. Second hole had to be drilled into the factory spring pocket. So I'm going to use that to butt the new frame connector up against. It has a frame connector in it now. It came with the car, but they're not what I want, so they'll get changed. There's the frame connectors that'll wind up on this car. They're made by Competition Engineering. They're C3014. They come with a pocket in the back so you can mount your spring inboard. I've modified it some. This way it'll fit up against the floor pan nice where it attaches to the factory front frame rail. Because before it was the same height back here. Now it'll fit flush against the floor pan. This has been modified. This will fit up against the factory spring pocket, so it'll weld to it around the edge. Might even get a couple plug welds, I'm not sure yet. These holes had to be drilled. I think they're originally 1/2 inch. They had to be drilled out for 9/16 because that's the size that passes through the cow tracks that are going to get run on this car. The bushing and the sleeve that comes with them accepts a 9/16 bolt. So these are opened up, and the holes that are in the factory spring pocket in the car are opened up to that. This frame connector still needs to be drilled. Still needs to be modified here in the front where this weld is and the steel's tall. Make that about level with this frame rail, and it'll fit nice up against the floor pan section. This is just a stock one out of the box. This is a modified one. This is the driver's side one. So little by little, it's getting there. It might get driven again this year, it might not. Another buddy of mine ordered axles and housing ends and a spool. He's going to narrow the 12 bolt that goes under this car. Waiting for those parts to come in. There's the 12 bolt that's going to get used and be narrowed, be put in that 66. That one fits like 67 to 69 Camaro, 68 to I think 74 Nova. I think it goes as far as 74 on width. But that's the housing that's getting narrowed. There's my 1-inch lowering split monos. This is that bushing in another video that my buddy Bill machined down for me to fit inside the Calvert spring. The diameter was much larger to fit inside a stock Nova spring. When I ordered the slider kit, I was going to use the factory ChevyII springs, and decided after all that I wanted to do Calvert with 1-inch lowering. So he was nice enough to take and cut this aluminum bushing down for me. His first time cutting aluminum on his lathe. He did a great job. Fits right in there. It's kind of like a press fit. Put a little lube on them and he pressed it right in there for me on both springs. Great job, Bill. So that's the update on the 66 Nova. Don't know when it'll ever get done, but it's getting there.